I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
With gray magnesser wings, he splits the skies. Salamander swoops with robotic cries. Zoid with missiles loaded. Sanava scatter screens are eroded. Salamander the blue Zoid sees the sky. On planet C, the helic coming nigh. Let Delaware and Pegasus retire. Salamander deployment transpire. Salamander and don't meander. Salamander crush the Empire slender. Salamander go now and so grander. Salamander helic air commander. Salamander forged with Earth technology. Dispatched in force to keep Republic free. Your missiles keep the Sanava's force weak. Destroy their air support, Havoc you wreak. But your potential has not yet been met. We'll make you into the Talosaur threat. You will rend the skies as you fly on through. Live on as a Salamander, mark Salamander. Fly and don't meander. Salamander crush the Empire slender. becomes your wild form extinct. Salamander we must bring back from the brink. The Republic's super cannons we fit to make you salamander bomb the land. Salamander, fly and don't meander. Salamander, cross the empire slender. Salamander, go now and so grander. Salamander, like air commander. Salamander, fly and don't meander. Salamander, cross the empire slender. Salamander, go now and so grander. Salamander, like air commander. From the Prince of Darkness, Zoidstar skies, killing those against him with techno cries. The road-bred Zoid girl soul with steel wings. Croc seeks to become the Zoid king of kings. With cunning plans and brutal battle plays, Croc draws stray red and blue Zoids to his ways. Promises of conquest beyond Zoidstar. Across all spaces, Zoids will carve a scar. Croc, Prince of Darkness, unite Zoids as one. Croc, Prince of Darkness, his red will be done. Croc, Prince of Darkness, shows all where he starts. Croc, Prince of Darkness, prepare the star charts. Seeing the chance to further his space goals, Croc tricks Zoids to Red Horn and Mammoth souls. Plans and plans, he turns his allies into foes. Croc the red Zoid schemer in the shadows. Wizards on and thunder at his command. Croc spreads his influence over the land. Terror Zoids and terrorists they enlist. With the Cosmos Zoids and Zoids to assist. Croc, Prince of Darkness, unite Zoids as one. Croc, Prince of Darkness, his red will be done. Croc, Prince of Darkness, shows all where he starts. Croc, Prince of Darkness, prepare the star charts. Here comes Salamander, his black Zoid scourge. Make the walls of light, Silverman will urge. Croc and his united Zoids will fight. Black Salamander, black Zoid, protect the spite. Croc, Prince of Darkness, unite Zoids as one. Croc, Prince of Darkness, his red will be done. Croc, Prince of Darkness, shows all where he starts. Croc, Prince of Darkness, prepare the star charts. Prince of Darkness, unite Zoids as one. Croc, Prince of Darkness, his red will be done. Croc, Prince of Darkness, shows all where he starts. Croc, Prince of Darkness, prepare the star charts.
is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
The Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.